3, 2, 1, end of test. Keying with a go.
Well, hello there, and welcome to another edition of Warbird Wednesday. This is episode 5 of our epic series. Greg gave me that word. It's a series at Edwards Air Force Base Test Pilot School. Stay tuned to this video. Check out all the neat stuff. So, Sandman, I am now in like the central control room, right, where you monitor all the testing, I guess.
Yep, this is one of our 2 control rooms we have downstairs, and then we have a third one on the 3rd floor of the building that's for classified test, but we primarily operate out of here, and this is where the flight test engineers come to conduct missions and oversee the test when we have pilots up in the air.
So when we're talking about that, like the telemetry coming off the F-16 and stuff like that, it comes down here?
Yep, so they're beaming back all their aircraft parameters, and so it'll get shot back in here. And so as you can kind of see on some of the screens here, we'll report back things like airspeed, G, Mach, a bunch of the other aircraft parameters.
You can actually see the aircraft right there, yeah?
Yep, and so we'll get a snapshot of how the aircraft's moving, and then depending on the test, we've got these, we call them strip charts. And so they'll be ticking throughout, and just depending what we're testing, we'll be monitoring the strip charts to make sure that they're on conditions for rudder pedal input, roll angle, things like that.
You know, the days are gone, right, where you could like flat hand around and do whatever you wanted, right? It's everything's on telemetry now, so.
Yeah, those darn pilots who want to go cowboy on us, we got about everything we need to keep them in check in here.
Now, my understanding is that you're a missileer.
I was a missileer out of the 10th Missile Squadron in Montana for 4 years before this. Got picked up for test pilot school, and now I'm doing the flight test engineering thing.
So how do you, to run an ICBM, right, or farm, whatever you want to call it, how do you get to that?
So there was a bit of a hiccup out of Malmstrom in Montana, and so they needed missileers, and when I was in school, they opened up a scholarship, essentially, where you would get your school paid for, go to field training, and just sign on as a missileer, understanding that you wouldn't do any of the pilot kind of things like that. But so I took that scholarship and went straight from college straight to Vandenberg for 6 months, and then into the ICBM world.
Really?
Yep.
That's cool. Now, with this class, with your group, and you come out of this with a master's as well?
Yes.
Okay, so that's worth it.
Yeah, and about a handful of us had masters coming in, so I had mine. I finished one last December, and so adding a second one to the resume won't be too bad of a gig.
We're going to need to get you like an extended sleeve here. What was your original master's in?
I went to the University of Alabama for aerospace engineering.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Very cool. How much of when you're doing that on a rotation, how much time do you need, or how much time do you spend as a missileer? What's the...
So when I left, we had transitioned from spending a day in the field when I got there, tripping home, and then having an off day into week-long deployments. And so you would trip out on a Wednesday, return home the following Wednesday with a group of 4, and 2 people have to be downstairs at all times, and the other 2 just stay topside on. It's a missile alert facility. It's like a little house over the capsule, and so they stay topside, and then you would alternate every day between your 2 crews of 2. And so you come back on a Wednesday, you would get 4 days off to just kind of rest and recover. We would go into a training week where we'd run simulated missions throughout all of our squadron. And then we would basically just gear up and post out. And so it was about every 3rd week you were in the field spending time underground.
So what does for you as a flight test engineer, have you gotten in the F-16 yet?
I've got 10 hours in the F-16, but that seems like a little bit of bragging.
Yeah, that was pretty. I got in the simulator. That was about as far as I got. But that's really cool. Now, where do you go with this? What do you want to do once you're finished with test pilot school?
So my next assignment will be out at Nellis. I'm going to the 413th Flight Test Squadron, Detachment 1, to do HH-60 whiskey testing. So the replacement combat search and rescue helicopter they're rolling out, I'm going to go help those guys out and hopefully put something that can bring the guys back safe.
So amazing career, rockets, you go to test pilot school, and now you're moving over to rotary wing.
Yeah, a little bit of everything, and so kind of seen it all, which I'm very fortunate to have all those opportunities.
That is really cool. Now, do you man this facility here, Are you involved in this facility?
Yep, so in this facility itself, typically how it looks is we'll all go to essentially a mission planning meeting. And so we'll run through what our test cards are, sitting down with the pilots, and then they'll step out and go to the jet. And as they go to the jet, we come in here. And in school, it typically consists of an instructor, flight test engineer sitting at that station. The test conductor who's running the mission will sit here. And then some of the time we'll bring a third body discipline engineer to help us out to sit there. And so you'll come in and basically run, set up everything all through radio, because obviously you can't see or just yell at them.
Right.
And then we're responsible for actually stepping through the mission, running the test cards, making sure that all the data that we're pursuing is gathered out of here, and hopefully kind of help the pilot with some airspace as we've got the moving map up here, and just make sure that they're able to fly the mission safely and gather what they need to gather.
That's really neat. Well, I want to tell you how much I appreciate your service. I know we all do, and what a varied background. So we wish you well in the rotary wing community. That's got to be very interesting.
Yeah, I hope so. The aerodynamics are quite different, so I'm going to have a bit of a learning curve when I get there, but hopefully I'm a quick learner, and we'll put some helicopters to use.
Well, thank you for with us today, and thank you for explaining this amazing facility.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a pleasure to have you all, and hopefully you got a good show of things.
Yeah, it was great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, a visit here would not be complete without the man whose airplane is actually on the stick out there. You're such a big celebrity. Not only did they give you a coin with your number on it, but they want to take pictures with you. And it's all over the wall here. So you're a big deal here.
That was then, this is now.
There it is. So take me through early Air Force career. How did you get involved in the Air Force?
I didn't really have much of a aviation history or background in flying airplanes. I went to a military high school and then a ROTC in college. And out of ROTC, I went in Air Force ROTC, and it just seemed like the right thing to do. So I kind of fell into going into airplanes then.
And aircraft at that time, P-80, T-33, F-84?
Yeah, T-37, T-33 in training when I went to pilot training.
And what were the
one year of that.
Fighters of the day?
At F-100, I graduated and lucky enough to get a fighter assignment, so I went to F-100s.
Were you in one of the early 100s or the later?
No, I checked out in the C model. No, it wasn't the A, it was a C model. And then I sat Victor Alert in England on nuclear weapons with an F-100 and F-100D for 3.5 years.
Let's define that for some people. That's essentially you're going to launch in a moment's notice because we're under attack, right?
Yeah, it was part of the strategic integrated operational plan of all sorts of fighters and bombers that could take us through a war if we had to go to one.
So you have a really interesting career. So we're going to get to some of it, but or to all of it actually. You go through all this, and then you end up at the test pilot school.
Not directly.
Yeah.
I came back from flying F-100s, and I wanted to get into the Vietnam War because it was in the 1965 time frame. I got an assignment to F-104s at George Air Force Base in Victorville. Flew 104s there, did 2 tours in Vietnam, one at Da Nang and one in Udon, Thailand. Flew my 100 missions up over North Vietnam on a 104. Came back, and for a short time, I was instructor pilot in the F-104 in the German program at Luke Air Force Base in Phoenix. And was selected, actually I applied, and then I went through the selection process and got selected to come here to the Aerospace Research Pilot School at that time, which is what it was called. 6 months of test pilot school and 6 months of astronaut prep school.
And at that time, you didn't walk out of here with a master's degree, I don't know.
No, took us through all that stuff, made us go through the same level of academics, but they hadn't had the affiliation to give us a master's degree yet, and I still don't have one. Really?
Well, we'll have to get you an emeritus degree. So let's talk about you end up in the suborbital program, and the Right Stuff has kind of both the book and the film have kind of embellished it a little bit, but talk about the suborbital program, how you kind of got into it.
Yeah, suborbital is kind of your definition. It was really called the Aerospace Trainer using an F-104 equipped with a rocket in the tail. They built 3 of them, especially Lockheed Martin developed those and put the rocket in the tail. And it was to train pilots to go into possibly the X-20 Dinosaur program or the Manned Orbiting Laboratory or Space Shuttle, a lot of edge of space training. So unfortunately, Colonel Chuck Yeager, when he was commandant of this test pilot school, flew one of those airplanes and was in the process of trying to set the world altitude record when he got in trouble at 100,000 feet, got into spin, jumped out, and that's the movie The Right Stuff.
So how about your experience?
Well, that's what I'm getting to right now, is they left 2 airplanes after Chuck jumped out of one. There were 2 left. I got to fly one of the other 2. I was in a class of 25 guys here, and they picked 4 of us to be the first students. We were the first student class to fly the NF-104, the rocket airplane. So I was one of those 4, and 3 other smart guys and me. I had more 104 time than the rest of them, so they asked me to go fly it. So I got a chance to fly it in June of 1968 to 101,830 feet.
What, did you fly it more than once?
I did. You flew two little checkout profiles in it just because the airplane was slightly different, so I did a couple of touch and go landings for a familiarization flight and that. And then a short flight, just lighting the rocket, burp-like short rocket light, and then actually did the zoom mission.
What goes through your mind? You were in a suit, weren't you?
Yeah,
Okay.
full blown space suit, orange suit, my own little private air conditioner and that kind of stuff, walking out to the airplane.
So what goes through your mind before you light that candle?
Well, it was interesting. There's a whole bunch of interesting checks you go through to make sure it's all safe. But you want to make sure that the spacesuit's going to work if it's needed. And you also want to make sure all the systems are working, because the airplane, when you're going to fly it up at very high altitude, the regular flight controls don't work. The elevator, the ailerons to make the airplane turn, the rudder to help you turn the airplane don't operate up at 100,000 feet. So we had a reaction control system, control system. So you want to make sure that all that system are checked out and working. You had a nitrogen pressurization system so that you didn't have to fly with a blown up spacesuit while you're trying to fly this airplane over the top.
Right.
So, just going through the normal checks. Actually, it was a pretty short flight. It was only 35 minutes long. Take off, climb up, go fast, go Mach 2.25. And
do you have a good view from the
when
cockpit?
you get over the top, in the zoom, you're flying the airplane, so you're doing a lot of things to make sure you're flying the airplane at the proper angle of attack and inducing no yaw, no sides, so you don't get into a spin like Chuck Yeager unfortunately got into when trying to set the altitude record. But yeah, when I over the top, about 2 minutes of 0G time pushing with the reaction control jets, flying the airplane over, maintaining a angle of attack that was safe. But I could see all the way I was taking off out east of here from Barstow, pointing towards Santa Barbara, doing a mission right up overhead this building in case the jet engine didn't restart. So I shut the jet engine down, run the rocket out until the rocket burns out, and then you're ballistic. You come back in and relight the jet and land. But over the top, my views, you asked that question, I could see down to Baja and up to Monterey Bay. It was black to blue. It was just a lot of fun.
Amazing, amazing. So you do that, then what do you do? Where do you go from there?
What do you do from there? Actually, that was my final ride here at the Aerospace Research Pilot School, now the Test Pilot School. I then was assigned to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, where I went into fighter tests, and I did first all-weather testing on the A-7D. I ran the F-5E test program, and then after that, I moved into other jobs, and eventually...
A-10, right?
Yeah, that was my last operational job. I was an A-10 squadron commander at Myrtle Beach. First operational squadron, that was 1978. So we're talking a long time ago.
Did you stay in the Air Force after that, or?
Yeah, after I got done with my squadron commander job as an A-10 squadron commander, I was dragged up to the Pentagon, and I got promoted, unfortunately, a little bit early. So they dragged me up to the Pentagon to run foreign military sales program. But the end of my career was really lucky. I got pulled over to the White House to work on a special program when President Reagan had just become president, and they were selling AWACS to the Middle East, to Saudi Arabia. So I wound up going to work there on that one special program for a short time, And then they asked me to stay. So I stayed for 2 more years with President Reagan as Director of Political Military Affairs, worrying about technology transfer, selling these weapon systems to other countries, and going through all the process of making those decisions to decide whether we should do those programs or not.
Well, that's amazing. What an amazing career. And then, of course, you're involved in the Palm Springs Air Museum.
Yeah, I've been doing that. Been working for the Palm Springs Air Museum for a director named Fred Bell for about 12 years.
Can you believe it's been that long?
I know it. It's amazing.
You were pivotal in getting the presidential aviation exhibit done.
I had some.
And you've been involved in
It was fun helping
and a lot of good stuff.
Getting the Miles hangar going. That was a lot of fun.
Well, we really appreciate it.
Thanks, Fred.
Thank you for bringing us up here. And
great day. A great day. Thanks. Go.
All right, Mr. Lilac. So I don't think we had these when you were a student. These are individual graduate coins. It has your TPS graduate number on it. So you are number 853, and I wanted to present
853.
this. Yes. So this is your personal coin.
Thank you so much. I can't believe it. And it's after 55 years, I finally earned a number. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks a lot, Poco.
3, 2, 1, end of test. King with a go.
Day, all my fears have gone away. I guess this means I'm here to stay. Yeah, I'm ready to fly, ready to fly. Wasn't long ago I shook at the thought of being hooked. But ever since I wrote my book, I'm ready to fly, ready to fly. Come along and join us, we can plug you in a simulator. We'll teach you how to dance and be the